The warning tone never sounded, but the sudden heat on the back of my neck told me the missile was already there. There was no time to think, no time to breathe, only the violent sledgehammer logic of kinetic energy ripping a $30 million aircraft into shrapnel. I didn't pull the ejection handle, my body did it for me. A muscle memory reflex drilled into my nervous system that bypassed my conscious brain entirely. The canopy blew, the rocket under my seat fired with enough G-force to compress my spine into a stack of quarters, and then the world went from the sterile gray of a cockpit to the blinding, roaring chaos of the stratosphere. I blacked out. It happens. The violence of an ejection at Mach 1.2 isn't something the human body is designed to process. When I came to, the roar was gone. The wind was gone. There was only the sound of my own ragged breathing and the crunch of silk dragging across gravel. I was on the ground. I was alive. And I was deep inside a country that wanted me dead.
I unclipped the chute harness, my fingers shaking so hard I could barely work the buckles. The desert night was freezing, a sharp contrast to the burning wreckage of my F-16 lighting up the horizon 3 miles to the east. That fire was a beacon. Every enemy patrol within 50 miles would be heading toward that pillar of smoke. I had to move. I checked my survival vest, water bladder intact, 9mm sidearm, radio. I pulled the PRC-90 survival radio from its pouch. It felt wrong in my hand, lighter than it should be. The casing was cracked, a spiderweb fracture running down the green plastic, but the volume knob still clicked when I turned it. All I got was static, just the hiss of white noise. I tried to key the mic to broadcast a distress beacon, but the transmit light didn't flicker. Mayday, Mayday. This is Viper 2-1 on the ground, I whispered into the darkness. Nothing, just the empty hiss of the desert. I checked for my backseater, my weapons systems officer, Marcus. We'd punched out almost simultaneously. I scanned the dark dunes, looking for another chute, another fire, anything. Marcus, I hissed. Silence. Then, through the static in my earpiece, which shouldn't have been working if the radio was busted, I heard him. Heading 270 Viper. Move. It was Marcus, clear as a bell. No static on his end, just that calm southern drawl he used when we were lining up a precision strike. Marcus, I read you, I whispered, scrambling to my feet. Where are you? What's your status? Don't worry about me, the voice said. Patrols are mobilizing from the highway. You have 3 minutes to clear the crash radius. Heading 270. There's a wadi 2 clicks west. Get in it. I didn't argue. In the hierarchy of battlefield survival, you don't question the guy who has eyes on the situation. I assumed he was still in the air. Maybe his chute got hung up on a ridge and he had a vantage point. Or maybe he'd landed already and was hiding nearby. I started running.
The desert floor wasn't sand. It was a hard-packed mixture of rock and shale that crunched loud enough to wake the dead. I moved fast, keeping low, my eyes adjusting to the starlight. The wreckage of my jet was still burning behind me, casting long, dancing shadows that looked like men with rifles. Get down, Marcus's voice cracked in my ear. Freeze. I dropped. I didn't look. I didn't think. I just slammed my chest into the dirt and buried my face in a cluster of sagebrush. 10 seconds passed, then 20. I heard the engine before I saw the lights. A technical, a pickup truck with a heavy machine gun mounted on the back, rolled over the crest of the dune less than 50 yards away. The headlights swept over the ground where I had been standing moments before. If I had taken 3 more steps, I would have been illuminated like a stage actor. The truck paused. I could hear men shouting in a language I didn't speak, their voices sharp and agitated. They were looking at the fire. They assumed the pilot would be near the crash site.
After a terrifying minute where the heavy diesel engine idled, vibrating the ground against my chest, they gunned it and sped toward the wreckage. Clear, Marcus said. Keep moving. 270. Stick to the low ground.
Marcus, where are you? I asked, pushing myself up. My knee was throbbing now. the adrenaline wearing off enough to let the pain in. "We need to link up." "Not yet," he said. "Just move." I walked for hours. The adrenaline faded into a dull, grinding exhaustion. The desert plays tricks on you at night. Bushes turn into crouching soldiers. The wind sounds like footsteps. But Marcus was constant. He was my lifeline. He guided me around a Bedouin camp I would have walked right into. He steered me away from a dry riverbed that turned out to be a road used by military convoys. By dawn, the cold had vanished, replaced by the rising anvil of the sun. The heat in that part of the world isn't just temperature, it's a physical weight. It presses on you. It sucks the moisture out of your eyes. I found a rocky overhang, a small slice of shade beneath a sandstone shelf. "Rest here," Marcus said. "Don't move until dusk. You're exposed." I drank a sip of warm water from my bladder. "Marcus, talk to me. Are you injured?" "I'm good, Viper. I'm watching you." "How?"
"Do you have eyes on?" "I've got eyes on," he said. His voice was strangely flat, devoid of the fear that was eating me alive. I slept in fits and starts, waking up every time a lizard skittered across the rocks. Every time I woke, I checked the radio. The crack in the casing seemed to be getting worse, the plastic peeling away. I tried to change the frequency to see if I could reach SAR, search and rescue, but Marcus cut in. "Stay off the main channels," he ordered. "They're triangulation scanning. If you broadcast, they'll drop a mortar on your head." "How do you know that?" I asked. "I can see them setting up the array. Just listen to me." I listened. I survived the day in that crack of shade, watching heat ripples distort the horizon. When the sun dipped below the skyline, painting the desert in bruised purples and blood reds, I started moving again. Night 2 was harder. My water was low, my leg was stiffening up, but it always kept me going. It became rhythmic, a metronome in my head. Left, steady, hold, move. Around 0200, I hit a flat expanse of hardpan. It looked like an easy sprint, a way to make up time. "Stop!" Marcus screamed. It was the first time he had raised his voice. The volume was so loud in my earpiece, I flinched. "What?" I whispered, crouching, gun up. "Look at the ground, 3 feet in front of you." I squinted into the gloom. The starlight was faint, but I saw it. A slight disturbance in the dust. A wire, thin as a spider web, stretched across the path at ankle height. Tripwire. I followed the line with my eyes. It ran to a buried munition, probably an old Soviet-era rebounding mine. If I had tripped that, it would have popped up to waist height and detonated. I felt a cold sweat break out that had nothing to do with the heat. "Jesus, Marcus, I missed that completely. You got night vision?" "Just go around," he said, carefully. I navigated the minefield for an hour, guided by his voice. Step left, big step, don't touch that rock. It was impossible. He was calling out obstacles that I couldn't see until I was right on top of them. It was as if he was hovering 10 feet above my head.
"We're close," he said finally. "The extraction point is the ridgeline ahead. SAR is inbound, ETA 10 minutes. I surged forward, the promise of rescue acting like a shot of pure caffeine. I scrambled up the scree of the ridge, my boots sliding on loose rock. When I crested the top, I saw it. The strobe light. An infrared strobe flashing a pattern only visible to night vision, or in my case, the naked eye, because I was close enough to see the emitter bulb pulsing. And then I heard the thrum of rotors. A Pavehawk helicopter, running dark, swept in low over the dunes. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Dust swirled as the bird flared for a landing. PJs, pararescue jumpers, were off the ramp before the wheels touched the ground. They grabbed me, hauled me into the cabin, and we lifted off. I collapsed onto the floor of the chopper, the vibration rattling my teeth. A PJ was instantly on me, checking for blood, checking my pupils. "I'm fine," I yelled over the rotor noise. "Get Marcus, he's out there, he guided me in." The PJ looked at me, confused.
He tapped his headset. "Say again?"
"My WSO, Marcus. He's on the radio.
He's the one who gave me the vectors. I grabbed the PJ's vest. We can't leave him. The PJ looked at the other team member, then back at me. His expression shifted from professional urgency to a somber, heavy look. He keyed his comms to talk to the pilot, then looked back at me. "Sir," the PJ said, leaning close to my ear, "we found the wreckage of the F-16. I know, I ejected." "Sir," the PJ said firmly, putting a hand on my shoulder to steady me, "the ejection sequence failed for the rear seat. The canopy didn't blow. The WSO never got out. We confirmed the body in the wreckage 5 miles back." The world seemed to stop. The noise of the rotors faded into a dull hum. "That's impossible," I stammered. "I've been talking to him for 2 days. He guided me through the minefield. He saw the patrols." I reached for my survival radio, the one clipped to my vest. I wanted to show them. I wanted to prove it. I pulled it out of the pouch. As I did, the bottom half of the casing fell away. It wasn't just cracked. The interior was gutted.
The battery pack had been crushed on impact. The circuit board was snapped clean in half. There was no power, no antenna connection, no way to receive, and no way to transmit. I stared at the broken, useless plastic in my hand. "Sir, that radio is a brick," the PJ said gently. "It hasn't worked since you hit the ground." I looked out the open ramp of the helicopter at the dark desert rushing by below. I thought about the tripwire I couldn't see, the patrol that stopped 10 feet from me, the voice that told me to freeze. I put the earpiece back in. "Marcus?" I whispered. There was no static, no hiss, just the deafening silence of a connection that had been severed a long time ago. "Thanks, buddy," I whispered into the dead air. And for a second, just before the fatigue finally took me, I swore I heard the click of a mic breaking squelch one last time.